Thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast from Visit Aurora from the rafters of the Stanley Marketplace. This is the show dedicated to telling the stories of Aurora, Colorado. Hi there, I'm Dave, the Senior Marketing Manager for Visit Aurora. You may not know the name Ginger White Brunetti, but you've certainly experienced her influence over the cultural arts scene of the metro area over the last 2 decades. She's the Director of Cultural and Library Services for the City of Aurora. It's so great to have you today, Ginger.
Dave, thanks so much for having me.
I have to ask off top, what's the best concert you ever seen?
Oh my gosh, that's such a tough one. I love seeing Beck. Wilco's my all-time favorite band. Jack White, when he performed with not the White Stripes, but he had an all-female band backing him up. They were dressed in all white. It was just magical against the Red Rocks. So you really can't see a bad show at Red Rocks, let's be honest.
No, absolutely. It's the most beautiful venue on earth, and it's in our backyard. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, indeed.
You've dedicated your life to public service. Where did that passion originate from?
You know, that's a really great question, Dave. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I grew up with my folks taking me to the museum and plays downtown, and really living in the city of Atlanta, which is, sort of unheard of, especially in the, 80s and 90s. And so I fell in love with cities, and I fell in love with the arts and culture and what that means to the civic life of a community. So I've always just been attracted to the intersection of art and city building. And fortunately, a lot of that great work happens in the municipal settings and public service.
How did you go from Georgia to Colorado?
Well, I will tell you, there's always an old boyfriend that's sometimes involved in that. Right. But, I always wanted to move out west. And when I was looking at colleges, I was certainly, the allure of Boulder was there. And my dad said, I'm not taking you and all your junk between Atlanta and Boulder. So find something else. And so I did. But, that desire to come out west stuck with me. And so I had a chance to do so shortly after the Summer Olympics in Atlanta, which was in 1996. We're here just finishing the Paris Olympics.
Yeah.
So I came out here in 1998 and lived here for a little while, and then moved to Chicago for graduate school, and then had a chance to come back in 2005.
I was born and raised here. I've witnessed firsthand the expansion and emphasis on the performing and cultural arts in the metro area, to the point where this has become a marquee destination for touring companies, art exhibitions, and performances of all varieties. And that wasn't always the case here. Very much not the case. During your time as executive director of Denver Arts and Venues with the city and county of Denver, you were very much an integral part, an architect of this elevation of the scene. Looking back, how satisfying is it to see the impact that you and your team had over the region?
Well, there's nothing I'm more proud of. I've always thought and worked really hard to make sure that Denver and really the metro area was seen as a creative capital of the Rocky Mountain West. And I think we achieved that both by elevating the work that was happening, but also through partnerships. And of course, not doing it alone with a team of people at Denver Arts and Venues, but also with other cultural institutions and organizations across the metro area. And Denver and the metro area really punches above its weight class because of the Scientific and Cultural Facilities District. And so I think a lot of what you're seeing is the proliferation of the importance of that taxing district that we all pay into, that allows us to really achieve an incredible quality of life, not just through parks and open space and the great weather that we have, but through truly being able to participate in arts and culture every day in a variety of ways.
I don't think I can really overstate how the impact of your work over the last 20, 25 years. And this, I remember in the 90s, this was not a place that people came to necessarily. And like you said, this is now a world-class destination for art and culture, and you should be very proud of that legacy. Speaking to that, though, when your tenure ended, you could have punched your ticket to any place you wanted your next challenge to be. I mean, your resume is that impressive, but you brought your talents to Aurora. What was the allure of pivoting to the Gateway to the Rockies?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Well, first of all, I I love this community, both the Metro Denver area, Denver, and then Aurora. I think there's such diversity in this community. There's such opportunity to really be an important part of Aurora's story, arts and culture being that, and being a resource to the community. I'm a firm believer in having great public amenities. And I think Aurora has those public amenities when you look at the Aurora Fox Theater, when you look at the libraries that we manage under Library and Cultural Services, when you look at our Aurora History Museum. Those are all things that I think are really powerful and making Aurora a very rich place. And I wanted to be part of making, taking what I was able to achieve in Denver and doing it here in Aurora.
When you first take the reins, you survey the lay of the land, so to speak, in Aurora. I imagine you uncover some challenges almost immediately, but you must be inspired by all the opportunities that we have here as well. I mean, you can kind of establish another world-class destination here.
That's certainly the hope. Yes, there are challenges, of course, but I think the opportunities really do outweigh those challenges. And what I've been really struck by is how open and inviting the community has been, and excited to get to work together on achieving that goal of making Aurora a destination when it comes to arts and culture. And I think when you look at what's happening in the Aurora Cultural Arts District, and then also some of the other explorations that the city is doing, we're on a path to make that possible.
We're in a very unique space, and I say we as in the community, and that we have these established institutions that deserve a brighter spotlight on them, so the rest of the metro area and the region understands the assets that we have here. But there's also an opportunity for some really exciting growth and responsible and smart development. What is your vision for Aurora's Libraries and Cultural Services Department, and how do you see it evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, so my vision really is to ensure that the community understands and appreciates the quality of what Library and Cultural Services brings, and the kind of opportunity that they can access through our programs, whether it's at the Aurora Fox Theater or the Aurora History Museum, like I mentioned, or anything in between. So part of it is really amplifying and the work that we're currently doing, and then finding new ways to be relevant to the community. So one of the things that I'm brainstorming with folks about is how do we activate Fletcher Plaza as being this vibrant urban plaza in original Aurora, and really taking that space to the next level so that it becomes a place that people seek out for fun, interesting, and exciting things to do.
I had this conversation with Rich Cowden, who's the executive director of the Aurora Fox Arts Center, and talking about how do you attract a younger audience. We have Gen Zs, even, I'm an elder millennial and I'm addicted to my phone and screens. How do we get young people to come and participate in the performing arts?
Well, I think that's something that performing arts organizations across the country are trying to sort of answer, especially post-COVID, when people got really comfortable in their sofa,
right.
and understandably so. I'm not immune to that either. But I do think what we as a cultural community need to try to lean into is this idea of community connection. We know that there is an epidemic of loneliness and isolation in our country, and we can be an antidote towards that. And so how do we create inviting spaces, immersive spaces, places and opportunities to connect? Certainly when it comes to the performing arts, that's also thinking about not just, a one-way conversation between the performers on stage, to the audience. How can the audience be really involved in creating what we would call at Denver Arts and Venues a great street to seat experience? And so, how do we continue to improve the patron experience so they want to come back?
With a focus on the libraries, it's a misnomer that libraries are simply a warehouse of media. It's so much more. How do Aurora's libraries serve the diverse needs of our community, and what are some of the initiatives that are currently underway to enhance those services?
Yeah, so you're right. Libraries are are not what you and I grew up with, or certainly I should say I didn't grow up with. They are these really multimedia spaces, and spaces where people can come to really empower themselves and empower their lives. I like to think of them as these hives where you get to elevate, to be empowered, and to become engaged. So some of the things that we do at libraries, for instance, our Martin Luther King Jr. Library right over here on Colfax, we have a host of classes that are for people who are learning English. And we have also classes for people who want to become a citizen of the United States at our Central Library branch. So those are some ways in which we are supporting our community. But of course, we also have great things like early literacy programs, like our Tiny Tots, reading programs and that sort of thing, or our Summer of Imagination. When we look forward, though, we know that libraries need to continue to evolve in a very changing and dynamic landscape of media and of just changing communities. So one of the things that we're doing, in fact, is launching a strategic plan. We're going to be inviting residents of Aurora to tell us, what is it that you want from your library? What kind of programming do you want to see? What kind of services do you want to have there? How do we make these places really these cultural and community hubs? And what does that look like for the community? So we will be seeking input from people on those once we get started, probably early next year.
The term library is almost too narrow. It really is a community center, a community hub, as you said, and a place where, underserved communities can get access to resources. And even beyond that, all of us can receive access to resources that maybe we're not fully aware of. And it's such an important part of the fabric that keeps our community together. I imagine that's a new aspect of your career trajectory that has got to be really fulfilling even early on.
Well, that was one of the things that really attracted me to this role. I love libraries, and have always been a huge fan of them. Denver Public Library, I supported and volunteered and knocked door to door to help with the mill levy, the vote they had a couple years back. And so I completely agree with what you just said, that these are really important third spaces, to nerd out for a second, where people can come. You don't have to buy a cup of coffee to hang out there. And you can, you should come by Central Library on a Saturday. We have people who are doing chess all over the building, and it's young people competing against older people. It's, people of all walks of life, and they're there to play chess. And that's the kind of thing that we want to, do more of, and make sure that libraries are known for. And yes, the word library maybe has a little bit of a stale meaning, but I would like to think of, how we can refresh that here in Aurora.
If you want to see how a city cares for its people, take a look at its libraries. It's a good indication of its investment in those community members. You love to travel.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite destination or experience you can share with us?
Oh gosh, well, I do love to travel. Let's see. My most recent and exciting trip was back in March. I celebrated a milestone birthday. And so myself and one of my best travel buddies, we went to Oaxaca, Mexico, and then Mexico City. And so we did a culinary tour of Oaxaca, which was amazing.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Which was delicious. And obviously incredible artwork there as well. And then had a chance to go to Mexico City and spend time there and enjoy all that Mexico City has to offer too. So that's been my most recent favorite thing, but I have a long bucket list of places to go and see.
Where's the ultimate destination for you right now?
Gosh.
You could snap your fingers and
that's
magic genie your way there.
I know, that's a great question. Well, there's certainly parts of Europe that I haven't had a chance to visit, and so but really anything that has mountains and water in one place, sign me up. So yeah, I will go in a heartbeat.
Traveling is a great way to recharge, is a great way to broaden your perspective on the world. You also come back with fresh ideas and inspiration. Have you been able to connect your travel with some new fresh ideas or perspectives, and how does that help you in your role?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that, because when I was in Mexico City and Oaxaca, I stopped and took photos of various public libraries. So it's just interesting to see the similarities and also differences of what different cultures do and use, and how libraries are accessed in other places. It was fascinating in Oaxaca. I was there and I noticed that all of the library books were in English, which speaks to the fact that there's a lot of expats in Oaxaca, but they had tremendous author reading that was happening upstairs. And so it's just inspiring to see how these places are utilized, how they're designed is really fun, how colorful and inviting they are. And that has to do something, I think, with also obviously Mexican and Latin American culture. But there was a vibrancy there that I took back to our libraries and said, how can we make our spaces, feel this sort of joyful?
And, Aurora is known for our rich cultural diversity, the most diverse city in the state. We have Colorado's largest immigrant community as well. How does your department lean into this identity to promote this diversity through your cultural programming?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm really proud of the work that the Aurora History Museum does through its Mosaic of Cultures exhibitions. Right now, we have an exhibition that focuses on our community from Nepal, but we've also featured El Salvador and Mexico as part of that. And so it's really allowed the staff in particular to go deep to learn about that culture and also celebrate the rich traditions that each of those cultures brings. So that's one example. Also at our library, we just recently took down an exhibit of Chinese calligraphy, which was beautiful. And it really made the library just look gorgeous with these beautiful displays of calligraphy, these panels that were all over the library. And so again, another way to showcase and celebrate Aurora's diversity, like you mentioned, and bring that into a place where someone may not go, to gallery to see that, but they'll go to the library and they'll have a chance to do what they were seeking at the library and also get exposed to this beautiful artwork.
I've had a bit of a run of a theme my last couple of episodes. Benisha Shrestha from the Colorado Nepalese community was talking about the Mosaics of Cultures exhibit at the Aurora History Museum just a couple episodes ago. Once you're done with this episode, scroll down and make sure you listen to that. I also had Min Soo Song here last week to talk about Global Fest, which is at the time of this recording coming up this weekend. Are there other cultural events or exhibitions that residents and listeners should be excited about that are maybe coming down the pike that we can't talk about necessarily yet, or we can? Anything that you're really excited for?
Yeah, well, coming up in September, we have MiniCon, which is our nod to Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah.
And so we do that at Central Library, and we also do it out on the lawn. And this is a free opportunity to do all of the things that you might want to do down at the Colorado Convention Center, but in this case, it's free. So MiniCon is a great opportunity for families and enthusiasts to come down and check out all of the things that you might see at a Comic-Con, but again, for free.
When you're crafting programming, both for the libraries and the Cultural Services Department, do you involve the community in shaping the offerings? We
definitely do. I think that's something that our library's strategic plan is going to really help with, particularly when it comes to the kinds of programs you might see, day to day at the library. For instance, at our Martin Luther King Library last weekend, we had a soap making class. And so do we want more of those, less of those, other things like that? So those are the kinds of questions I'll be asking as part of our library's strategic plan. When it comes to some of our other programs, like at the Aurora History Museum, for instance, we do seek input and feedback from the community on, what kind of exhibitions they would like to see. Also, we serve a lot of adult day groups and homeschool students. And so, also asking them what are the things that really make a visit to the Aurora History Museum that much more interesting and rewarding. So we ask those questions as well.
One of the things I love about the dynamic of Aurora, especially for our immigrant community, being a diverse community, is, with events like Global Fest and the programming that are both in our cultural arts district and at the libraries, is this notion of these are your cultures, but this is your community, and kind of marrying those two ideas. What are some of the challenges that you face so far, and what kind of keeps you up at night, and what's your plan of attack on addressing them?
Yeah, I think for a community of our size, the city of Aurora, which is approaching 400,000 people. We don't have libraries in some areas of growth. And so I think we're missing some individuals. And so how do we serve communities that can't necessarily come to us or don't want to try to travel that far to get to a library? So thinking about how are we, one, as Aurora continues to grow, how are we meeting the needs of the community in those spaces? You mentioned communities that invest in its people, invest in libraries, and that's a manifestation of that. So that's a question that I've been asking as Aurora grows, how are we meeting those needs? And then similarly, ensuring that our programs are available to diverse communities. So whether it's our arts education programs, making sure those can remain as affordable as possible, but also recognizing that, there's only so much money going around. And so how do we maximize cost recovery, which is not a very fun term when you think about all of these things, but, really thinking about how are we balancing being responsive and relevant and accessible to our community while also being mindful of the scarce resources that we have and how do we deploy those effectively. And
one of the beautiful things about our destination is we have very low barriers to entry for the community and for creators across all of our assets. So, that's an advantage to have, and you want to try to maintain that access as much as possible while also keeping the lights on, as they say. Right. Absolutely. And that's been really exciting to see what, Aaron Vega has done at the People's Building for instance. We know that Bruce Trujillo will be opening a venue on Colfax called Manos Sagrados. And that is certainly an element that she wants to ensure is that there's an affordable venue as well. And of course, that's something that we think about at the Aurora Fox too. So that is certainly a value that is very much present in Aurora, which is really gratifying and exciting to be, partners with those individuals as we try to figure out how to do that best. Going to tiptoe a little bit here because I'm sure there are things on the horizon that you may or may not be able to speak about, but Aurora is growing at a rapid pace. What opportunities do you see on the horizon, and how is your department looking to adapt to meet the changing needs of the community? Yeah, so I mentioned it a little bit ago. Obviously, Aurora is growing, and we know we need to have services in those areas of growth, and that's partly what I'm hoping the strategic plan that we're developing for our library branches in particular can help us identify and really advocate for growth, and particularly in those areas and communities. I'm also really excited about some of the investments we're making at our Martin Luther King Library branch. We've got $2.5 million that will go into expanding the second floor and creating a maker space as part of that, having better teen and youth and children's service area on the first floor. So I'm excited for that in particular. And then we're also seeking to augment a $3 million grant that we got through a federal earmark for the Central Library, and obviously deploying those dollars to make improvements to the Central Library, but looking at other funding opportunities to really go big in the digital space. And so obviously hoping that, through grants and other resources, we can have a chance to do that. But beyond those things, I'm excited to work with some of our boards and commissions. Library and Cultural Services has quite a few boards and commissions that care deeply about, the Fox Theater or the museum or public art, and trying to figure out how can we leverage all of those different individuals who have interests and bring them together to really maximize and optimize their role in amplifying and advocating for what Library and Cultural Services does. What's the most rewarding part of your job? What do you love? What makes you smile? First of all, I love the people that I have a chance to work with every day. They are such dedicated and passionate individuals, and they love this community so much, and it shows in their day to day. So it's really rewarding to have a chance to work alongside people who share my values and seek to make Aurora a better place. When I think about even more broadly, I'm an urban planner by trade. And so I want our facilities and the assets we manage
and the communities that we reside in to really feel like these are vibrant, joyful, welcoming, dynamic places. And so that's one of the things I think about all the time, is how to make these places feel like they're busting at the seams when it comes to energy and vibrancy.
How can residents and visitors alike kind of get more involved in the library and the cultural services department?
Well, the best thing is to participate. We've got so many great programs that happen across our branches and across the different venues that we manage. So, of course, want people to come and enjoy all of the things that we offer for free or for very low cost, which is, and meet your neighbor while doing it. Get to know somebody new in your community as a part of that. And then I would say, beyond that, when you do, tell your neighbor how great it is. Tell your elected official how awesome the program that you had, the experience you had at one of our libraries was. Because that's how we also are able to expand and do more, is if more people know about us and care about us.
Ginger White Brunetti, Director of Cultural and Library Services for the City of Aurora. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your talent. It was an honor to meet you today.
Thanks so much, Dave. I look forward to future conversations.
Absolutely. The Library and Cultural Services Department is composed of 2 divisions: the Aurora Public Library with 7 branches, and cultural services, including the Aurora Art in Public Places program, Aurora History Museum and Historic Sites, Aurora Fox Arts Center, Aurora Dance Arts, Arts Education and Bicentennial Arts Center, and is in charge of providing city residents with access to arts, culture, and education and entertainment in many forms. You can learn more now at auroragov.org. Thank you for listening to the Gateway to the Rockies podcast. Visit Aurora is the official destination marketing organization for the city of Aurora, Colorado, and acts as the primary liaison between meeting planners and hotel partners. As Aurora's Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Aurora's mission is grounded in showcasing Aurora as a premier destination for meetings, business, and leisure travel. Visit Aurora represents more than 75 plus hotel properties with 13,500 plus guest rooms and more than 1 million square feet of meeting space, including Colorado's largest resort, Gaylord Rockies Resort and Convention Center. As Colorado's 3rd largest city, Aurora is located minutes away from Denver International Airport and showcases mountain views, memorable meeting spaces, and 250 plus international eateries that offer a unique experience for each and every visitor. As the Gateway to the Rockies, Visit Aurora's role in the local community goes beyond marketing the city as a destination. The Visit Aurora team is here to assist you with your Colorado visit, from facilitating your meeting, event, or convention to helping you discover local flavor and attractions. Go beyond the boardroom in Aurora, Colorado. For more, visit us at visitaurora.com.